Welcome to another episode of Half Pint Cooking. Today we are making mashed potatoes. So we have Thanksgiving coming up, and this is just a simple recipe. You probably have all the ingredients. There's not too much that you have to plan for. One thing that I do is just about 1 potato per person. These are about a good medium-sized potato. So if you have big potatoes, maybe do a half per person, or if you have small potatoes, maybe do a little bit more than 1 per person. With Thanksgiving, you have so much else on your plate that you don't need a ton of mashed potatoes because that'll take a big part of your plate. But if you're gonna have mashed potatoes and turkey and stuffing and cranberry sauce and everything else, then you don't need a lot for Thanksgiving because you're gonna have a lot left over. But for any other occasion, you probably want a little more. Just, it goes off of what you're having with your mashed potatoes. So, like I said, this is about a medium-sized potato, and we do about 1 per person. So today, we're gonna do 8 potatoes. We have Jules here peeling and Jane here peeling potatoes. One thing is I have this little basket in the bottom of my sink, and it doesn't let the peelings go down the drain. There's a lot of times that even though we have a good disposal, the potatoes kind of ruin it unless you put them down really slow. So this way, it catches all the peelings, and then I can just scoop up all the peelings and put them in a compost or the garden or just the garbage. So if you noticed, we have 2 kinds of peelers right here. This is a handheld one like this, and Jules has this kind that you can do this way or that way, and it's better for left-handers because it doesn't matter which direction the sharp part of the blade is. Now, if you have a lot of potatoes that you need to do, after you're done peeling them, put them in a bowl or your pot with some water so that they don't start getting brown. Since we only had 7, we didn't have to do that, but if you're having Thanksgiving for 30 people and you're doing 10 pounds of potatoes or whatever, you need to keep them from going brown, so put them in water. So now I'm just cutting them. We have them all peeled and washed. I'm cutting them. I'm using a small paring knife that's sharp. I like to use the small knives better more than the big knives when I'm doing potatoes. So now I'm just cutting them, and I am making them all, I'm trying to keep them the same size so that they cook the same, because if I have some that are really small, they're gonna cook faster than the ones that are really big, and then that's why we have lumpy potatoes, because we think that all the potatoes are done, but we tested a small one that was done before the big ones. So sometimes I need to cut them into more pieces because this is a bigger one. And Jane's my big helper putting them in the pot. Some people like to boil their water before they put their potatoes in, but then that cooks the outside of the potato faster than the inside. So we cook it all at the same time. I do have some warm water in the pot, and then we're just adding our potatoes to it. So now that we have our potatoes in the pot with our warm water, we're gonna add a little bit of salt to this so that some of the flavor is cooked in with the potatoes. I'm gonna add about 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons of salt in here. I really just dump it in, so I'm not sure how much I use, but if you're doing a lot of them, then you're gonna need to add some more. So I'm gonna put this on high until it starts to boil, and then I'm gonna turn it down to about a medium high for about 8 to 10 minutes, or just until they're soft. Now, one trick with mashed potatoes is when you add milk or cream and your butter, it's cold, and so it makes your mashed potatoes cold really fast. So a trick that you can do, we're just gonna use milk today. You can use cream if you want it super rich. I'm gonna do about a half a cup of milk, about a half a cube of butter, and my favorite is just to add some chicken bouillon. I like this powder stuff from Shirley J. If you can get a hold of this stuff, it's fantastic because it doesn't have MSG, and a lot of chicken bouillons have MSG, and I just try to avoid that. So I'm gonna add maybe 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons. So if you just have the cubes, do 1 cube or 2 cubes for this amount of potatoes. And I'm just gonna let this boil. The chicken bouillon just adds a good flavor to the mashed potatoes instead of having to add so much just plain salt. So I'm gonna, while it's cooking, I've got a low temperature burner over here, and it's just gonna heat up. And we'll just wait and let those cook. So it took us about 14 minutes for the water to come to a boil and then another 10 to 12 minutes for them to get soft. A good way to see if they're soft is I just get some on a spoon and I stab my fork in it. If it goes in really easy and it kind of falls apart, then I know that they're done. So I turn it off. This is all boiling. This is my sauce, remember, that I'm gonna put inside. You can do this two different ways. If you want to save some of this water, it's really good to use in gravy because it's starchy and it will help it thicken up a little bit. I usually don't do it, but you can. So when you drain the water, you can put it into a strainer or a colander. I just put a lid on it and I leave it open a little bit right there, and I make sure I have hot pads to hold the lid down a little bit and the little opening. And I go to the sink and I'm gonna dump out most of the water. I do want to keep a little bit of the water in to help keep some moisture in there, but that's pretty good. See, I still have some water in there. Now, while these are really hot, we're gonna come over here.
I want some more. It's so hot.
It's so hot. And we're gonna mix it right away while the potatoes are still hot.
I want it to push it.
Oh, sorry. And this is where we're gonna add our stuff.
That looks like milk.
It is, it's milk and butter. You can see that this is really liquidy. But mashed potatoes stiffen up after a while, so it's okay if it looks really liquidy. Oh, those look so creamy. I have about 1/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese that I like to add to it. I like to use white pepper in my mashed potatoes because if you use black pepper, it looks like little spots and little bugs in your mashed potatoes. It still tastes good and it's fine if you want pepper in there, but I always add the white ground pepper to things that are white, like my white sauces. You know, we're just gonna add a little bit. We're gonna mix it up a little bit more. Do you wanna try them now? Oh, they're so creamy. Look at those. Delicious. Maybe these. I think they're gonna be hot. What do you think? Perfect for Thanksgiving? Perfect for Thanksgiving. Okay, thanks for watching another episode of HalfPint Cooking. Again, you don't have to add the Parmesan cheese. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends about it and try these mashed potatoes. Bye.
Bye.
Did you want to lick one of these? Tessa, are you feeling potatoes? Yeah, potatoes? Can you say potato?